So this is our second virtual Creative Mornings event here in San Diego, and I'm going to have Stacy run us through a little bit about how to best leverage this this Zoom to really interact and connect with everybody that's on here right now.
Thanks, Nate. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here today. I know we can't all be in the same room, but it's really great to see your faces. It feels like we're in the same room. So really glad you're here. Just wanted to go over a few intro to Zoom items before we dive into the event. I'm sure you've all become very familiar with Zoom this past month. I'm a little zoomed out myself, but there's some really fun ways to engage on here. So if you don't already know, there's a keyboard shortcut for emojis. If you do Command Control Spacebar, you can see all of the emojis and you can include those in the chat. Also, we want you to turn on your cameras. We want to see all your faces. We want to see your reactions. I'm going to be taking screenshots throughout the event, so look alive, get your coffee going. Let's make it fun. Let's see, don't be shy. That's the other one. Feel free to give snaps and jazz hands throughout the call. Let us know that you're paying attention, that you're having a good time. Let our speakers know that you're pumped on what they're talking about. And you can also send some love in the chat box throughout the call. If there's something that speaks to you, let us know. Third thing is that you can change your screen view. So you'll notice in the top right-hand corner of your screen, it will either say gallery view or speaker view. So just toggle back and forth between the two of those, and you can see either everyone on the call, it'll be a grid, or you can see just the host. You can also do this during the screen share. So go ahead and check that out. Let's see, we're gonna play a little game called Follow Me. So go ahead and at the bottom of your screen, you will see the participants button. And then over on the right, you should see the list of participants. So go ahead and find your name, hover over it, click rename, and then add your Instagram or Twitter handle to your name. So that way we can all see.
Participants, find your name.
Yeah, you got it. And then look to left and right, or I guess it would be above you and below you. And go ahead and give those guys a follow. Sound good?
Yeah, thanks, Stacy.
Okay, let's see. We've got one more little game we're gonna do. Raise your hand if. So throughout the call, there will be a few opportunities for you to chime in. The raise hand feature is a great way to do this, just given how many people there are on the call. So in order to practice this, we're gonna play a little game. Next slide. Okay, raise your hand if you are calling in from San Diego. Can we get some people raising their hands?
Awesome, so many people.
Nice. Cool. All right, next one. Raise your hand if you believe we are in this together. Yeah, Natalia, Jenna, I see you. And McCall, awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Love it. Thank you so much, Stacy. So yeah, leverage the time we have together the best we can to make connections, and I think we can do that throughout this morning's event. But we're also going to try something new that we've been practicing in other events with Creative Mornings around the world, called the virtual coffee line. So one of the things that I think has been one of the best aspects of Creative Mornings has been the coffee line. I don't know about you, but I have met so many different amazing and incredible people standing in line waiting for a cup of coffee. Now, while maybe you're like me and you've already got a couple caffeinated bevies in the bag already this morning or not, we can't necessarily stand in line for coffee together, but we're going to do something really, really fun called a breakout group. So good news is everybody on the call isn't going to have to do anything themselves. Mike is directing the Zoom today, and Mike will be taking care of putting you all into randomized rooms. We're going to do 10 minutes where we're going to put you in groups of about 10 people, and you're going to have an opportunity to be in virtual coffee line with other people that are on this call this morning as well. Now, a couple things before we go into this. Number one, This is your community. So no, I know that sometimes when we jump and we say we're going to do these things, people go, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. Well, good news is these are your people. What we're going to ask you to do is introduce yourself, where you're from, and then two of these things. What's the favorite food that you've cooked during quarantine? And I'm sure half of you are going to say sourdough bread, but what else? What else do you got under the belt from this season? And maybe your craziest quarantine outfit. Maybe that's wearing the same sweatshirt for 40 days straight, or it's the same pair of pants. I don't know, but whatever that might be is, why don't you share that with someone now? So what we're going to do is sit tight. We're going to go ahead and try to get you into these breakout rooms. And we're going to spend about 10 minutes, and you'll automatically come right back into our bigger group Zoom in just a couple minutes. Hey, while people are coming back, Mike, we could probably transition into the next quick, we've got a quick, fun 90 seconds planned for everybody. How many of you, by a show of hands or waves, just loved meeting some new folks from the community briefly in the coffee line? Awesome. Yeah, it was a blast. I loved getting to meet people from all over San Diego. And it's so fun that our community can be spread out and all together in this environment. And so super fun to connect with everybody. Hey, so we're actually going to go right into our next activity, which, if you know us, you know that we love to dance. Dance is a part of all of our Creative Mornings and has been since Jordan started dancing beforehand, last year. So we are going to give about a 90-second dance break. So where we are in our programming, we're about halfway through. So we are going to share a little bit more info with you after after our little dance break, and then we're going to dive into our panel with our speakers on the topic of purpose. So let's take it from there, Mike. We will dive in. Fired up? Who's ready for the rest of our event? Thanks to everybody that participated in our dance party. I'm surprisingly out of breath for just really rocking my hips back and forth. I'm not sure what that was about, but man, I'm a little tired now. But that's how you can tell, actually. So really, why we put that in was mostly so that you could tell whether or not the quarantine 19 is real or not in your life, and whether or not you should maybe tone down on how much bread intake you're doing versus maybe some more greens or some healthy snacks. So anyways, just kidding. Thanks so much for participating in that. I'm going to actually share my screen again so that we can walk through a couple more slides. So bear with me as I get that up and running. And also just wanted to say hello. I know we've had people joining all the way through. We have 320 plus people in the chat right now and in this Zoom. So thank you all for being here this morning. We're so thankful that you are here. Let me share my awesome. So, all
You're
right.
sharing you're awesome. Is that what you said?
I'm sharing that I'm awesome, everybody. That's what I'm sharing right now. All right, we did our dance break. Be in the know. So just a couple announcements. Normally we'd be talking about events that are upcoming. Clearly, most of events in this day and age are still virtual, and who knows how long that's going to be. But we did want to share some highlights. One in particular that we're really excited about is that Creative Mornings, as events are going virtual, we just announced that globally there's the rollout of virtual field trips. So this is something that I think is awesome for those of you that are looking for some fun activities to do while at home. Field trips are workshops or gatherings hosted by people just like you in our global community, and you can sign up to participate. Or if there's something that you're great at and you'd be willing to teach it over Zoom, you can submit your idea as well, and it provide an opportunity for you to also do that. So this is something that we're launching. Really, really excited about this. If you want more information on what's happening with Creative Mornings field trips, go to creativemornings.com/field trips for more information on that. Something else I just wanted to mention, and these slides are from earlier this year, but I just wanted to mention the Creative Mornings website has grown and matured over the years. And one of the things that's really awesome is that in 2019, the launch of the Creative Guild happened. The Creative Guild was this amazing place to go to find out about careers in the creative community from organizations that support creativity and support the Creative Mornings movement, and also a place for recruiting. So if you are a freelancer or you're someone that's looking for a new career or a new role within an organization, there's a ton of opportunity to check out and also just make sure you've listed your information on the website. So if you go, your profile at creativemornings.com/me/edit is a great place to start. If you go in and edit and put all of your information in there, it's a great place to go because you're automatically kind of put up into the Creative Guild. So I would just encourage you to go check that out. Check out the Creative Guild. All you have to do is go to the Creative Mornings website to find out more information on that. So please check that out. It's a great opportunity to be connected and to really share more about your talent with the world. I want to take a moment to thank our global partners. So one of the things that makes Creative Mornings such a remarkable community is that partnership and sponsorship, I think, looks a lot different than a lot of events or kind of the traditional way that maybe we talk about partners. One thing I've noticed is that the creative community is very sensitive to just being marketed at. A lot of us work in marketing, but we don't like being marketed at. And so the thing that's so cool is our global partners are literally at the ground level helping to support this community through their participation with the headquarters team in Brooklyn, and also by just continuing to activate and provide value to the local chapters as we continue to produce our events. So I want to say thank you to MailChimp, Creative Mornings official partner for marketing. They have been supporting Creative Mornings for 11 years, and they have been a true champion of the global creative community and creatives in general. I mean, I always joke, and I know I'm pretty quick to make reference the fact that probably everybody on the Zoom call is familiar with MailChimp, and that's by no accident. They've been serving and participating in the creative community for over a decade, and we're just so thankful for their contribution. And in these hectic times, there's no exception. MailChimp is actually offering our Creative Mornings attendees in April 3 months free of their paid standard account plan, and that applies to new and existing customers. And all you really need to do is fill out a form. And I can share that. It's actually on the screen right now. It's bit.ly/MailChimp loves CM. So we're happy, we can share this afterwards as well, but and we'll share it in the chat. But if you type in that, you can get that. The offer expires at the end of April, so make sure that you jump on it as soon as you can. But 3 months free of MailChimp standard plan. It's awesome. What a generous gift from them. Thank you, MailChimp, for supporting Creative Mornings attendees around the world with such a great gift. I also want to shout out WordPress. WordPress is the digital partner of Creative Mornings around the world. They have also, as every business is working to navigate their businesses online, they are working to make it easier, more easy than ever, to put your small business online. And so you can set up your website for free. And if you find out that you want to add features, be sure to visit wordpress.com/creativemornings to get 20% off your account. So WordPress, again, making it easier for us to have our businesses online. Thanks so much, WordPress, for participating. And last but not least, if you don't already know this, Basecamp is now an official partner of Creative Mornings, and we are so pumped that they've joined us as a global partner. Basecamp helps organizations, teams, and individuals manage projects efficiently and effectively. So if you're trying to be more organized like me, Basecamp's an awesome place to put all your stuff, put all your ideas, get all your tasks in order. And if you're not using a tool like that, highly recommended. And they're showing up big time for the creative community in this crazy season. And whether you're a company who's exploring how to work remotely or a longtime user, Basecamp wants to offer all of our Creative Mornings attendees at events 6 months. That's $600 worth of free Basecamp business. All you have to do is take out your phone anytime during the event and take a selfie with your computer. And you're going to send that to, and so if you want to, you could do it right now. If you're thinking about doing this, just grab your phone. I'll do it while you do it. And take a selfie with your computer. And what you're going to do is you're going to email that photo with a short note to cmsecretdiscount@basecamp.com. And what you'll be able to do there is email that. And once you've done that, you'll be able to get that 6 months of free service. So thank you to Basecamp for your participation and your support. I also want to say thank you to all of our local partners. First and foremost, the Minge International Museum. Minge, we love you. Thanks so much for all you're doing. If you haven't checked out what Minge is doing, they came on last month and shared about how they've pivoted in this season to offer more content online and are doing a ton of really, really awesome stuff for the community. So if you haven't checked out the Minge's website, you're not following them on social media, you're not on their mailing list, any of those things, that's the first place I'd start. Today, while you're here, take a moment to make sure that you have connected with them across the board. I'd encourage you to really follow along with all of our partners. If they've shown up and they're contributing to help make these events happen, I'd encourage you to show up for them and to thank them personally. Maybe one way to do that would be to Instagram bomb some of their last posts and just say thanks for supporting Creative Mornings. Add a comment, say thank you at Minge Museum for supporting Creative Mornings. We love them and just wanted to say thank you so much for participating in Creative Mornings. We know it's been a crazy season for everybody, and so we thank all of our partners for helping make this happen. Also want to say thank you for Chosen Foods. Chosen Foods has been a longtime partner. They were a huge support in 2019 and are on board to be a partner again in 2020. And we want to say thank you to them. I don't know if you've used their products, but man, are they good. Best avocados in the world. That's what I say. Avocado oil. Thank you so much to them. They've got all sorts of new products coming out all the time. And so if you're not following along with them, I'd encourage you to do so. And also want to say mad props for the sweet rebrand. I don't know if anyone else has noticed. Chosen Foods has repackaged and rebranded completely. And as a branding nerd, I want to say, well done. Well done. That's an awesome, awesome job. And we're so thankful for your participation and contribution to Creative Mornings locally. Can't wait to see you again in person. We're working hard to figure out new ways to explore collaboration with our partners since they're not getting the opportunity to be tabled at our events. We're working hard to figure out how to create some additional content and additional opportunities to collaborate in this season. Since we don't know how long we'll be doing virtual events, we want to make sure that we're creating a lot of really cool opportunities for everybody to connect with these amazing partners. Also want to say thank you to Grizzly for participating in and supporting these events through the years. I also want to say thank you to the San Diego Creative Foundation, which is really the underwriter of all of, as a nonprofit, of all of the work that we're doing with Creative Mornings. So thank you to the San Diego Creative Foundation for your support of the local creative community with Creative Mornings and with other events and with other amazing transformative work here in San Diego. Cool. Everyone takes a deep breath because that was a lot to cover in just a couple minutes. Well, we are excited to talk about the theme of purpose. I wanted to give everybody just a 2-minute, a little bit of a 2-minute primer on this month and kind of what transpired to get us to where we are today. We had a speaker kind of planned for this month, and when everything kind of went haywire over the last couple months, we had a speaker that was not able to make it for this event. We found out about that a little over a week and a half ago. And when we found out, instead of rushing to try to fill the original plan of having a single speaker for our community, we paused and we thought about this season. We thought about the realities at play for all of us in this season and thought, what if we pivoted and we did something different than we've ever done before and approached the theme of purpose with a purpose panel, if you will. And that's really what we came to, was this idea of what could we do to offer support in this season through dialogue. When we had our event last month, there was over 350 plus of you that shared that what you wanted was more opportunities for community, that you wanted more opportunities for dialogue, that you wanted more opportunity to be connected. And while it's difficult, and I think to Stacy's point earlier in our conversation, that can be difficult when we're doing it all digitally. The space and place when we're in community, we feel something. But we wanted to use everything in our power to try to create an opportunity for conversation to take place organically. And so we are incredibly excited to talk on this theme of purpose. And this month's theme was chosen by our Indianapolis chapter and illustrated by Jason Ratcliffe. And what we're excited about in this month's theme is to explore purpose in a season where it's been a little jolting, to say the least, right? It's been jolting for our economy. It's been jolting for us as individuals. I think it's been jolting for our world. And one of the things that we've all been thinking a lot about is, how do we live on purpose in seasons of uncertainty, or in a season where things don't go as planned? And I don't know what your circumstances are specifically this morning showing up for this conversation. But what our hope was that having a conversation with a group of wonderful individuals from San Diego, ranging a myriad of backgrounds, that we would find and have a conversation around a theme that would be inspiring and impactful to you personally. That this morning that you would find comfort and solidarity in knowing that we're all in this together, and that there are and that we all have viewpoints on this, that when we come together, there's an opportunity for transformation to take place. So I'm unbelievably excited to have Candace, Catherine, Carmela, Ryan, and Sean with us this morning. And we are going to dive into an incredible conversation around the theme of purpose. So with that, I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen, and we are going to dive into our panel. All right. Can everybody still hear me? Wave if you can hear me. Panelists, do I have you guys off mute?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so let's start. Check. We have got everybody. And before we get into, I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves. But before we do that, I just want to say thank you publicly to our panelists for jumping in and participating in the Creative Mornings event this morning. They all have it's been, I was joking with them this morning. They got on the Zoom call a little earlier than everybody else. And I was joking that they got to see the behind the scenes of how these events get off the ground, and they're still participating. So that's that in and of itself. I'm so thankful for your participation and for contributing to the creative community. Why don't we start with a quick round of introductions? Who are you? What do you do? Maybe your favorite quarantine snack and something new that you've learned in the last 30 days. Sean, why don't you kick us off?
Sure, it'd be my pleasure. Hi, I'm Sean Van Tyne. So excited to be here. I'm the creative wrangler at the Van Tyne Group. I still like the Omega trail mix. I liked it before quarantine, still like it now. It's mostly walnuts and, dried cranberries. You can get it like Trader Joe's, or I even think Costco. Something I've learned about myself during this time, as I'm going stir crazy. I'm surprised about the things that I'm patient about that I didn't think I'd be patient about. And on the flip side, I'm surprised about the things that I'm not patient about that I thought I'd be patient about. So those are my observations during this time. Thank you.
Catherine, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm happy to. First, Nate, let me thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm really happy to be participating in Creative Mornings and the manifesto talking about us all as community. I think we're finding community in new ways now. These grids of faces are our new coffee line, as you point out. I'm Catherine Canjo. I'm the David C. Copley Director and CEO of the Museum of Contemporary Art in San Diego. And I don't eat Omega walnut. My snack is Jelly Bellies. I was going to bring in the empty giant thing. I thought, no, that's just too base, Canjo. And yet here I am telling you, Jelly Bellies. And in terms of maybe something that I've learned about myself, I don't know. In this times, I got to say, I'm surprised at how comfortable I am that I don't mind leaving. I mean, I'd leave the house, but I don't mind. That's probably terrible to say, but I don't mind going to things, because to just be in one place is there's some kind of comfort in that too in this moment.
Totally. Ryan, you're next to Catherine on the screen, so maybe I'll have you introduce yourself next.
Perfect. Thanks, man. Ryan Sisson, the founder and CEO of Moniker Group. My favorite quarantine snack besides red wine would probably be like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. For whatever reason, I've just, they work for breakfast, lunch, like dessert. They're a good all around choice. And I think one of the things that I've learned in this is that we as a team are capable of surviving the worst case scenario. I think there's no one that would have ever put this type of situation into any sort of business book or program. And I don't know what it exactly looks like at the other side, but I know we'll be here. So definitely doing that.
That's great. Carmela?
Hello. Good morning, everybody. I'm Carmela Prudencio, the Marketing and Communications Manager for Pacific Arts Movement. We present the San Diego Asian Film Festival every year. And I'm also the head curator over at Teros Gallery, a small DIY space in City Heights. For my quarantine snack, I've been nostalgic myself with, snack time in elementary school. So I've been eating a lot of goldfish crackers and like sliced apples, just like while I'm working, from home. And then what I've learned during quarantine is how much I'm capable of. I talked during our coffee line breakout group, how I realized I learned that I know how to cook. For so long, it's just been like takeout and stuff, which has been a nice luxury too, but I can cook, I can fix stuff in my house. So seeing how self-reliant I can be during this time.
Love it. And Candace, did you already introduce yourself?
No.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. I'm Candace Ely. I am the Director of Communications for the San Diego Tourism Authority. My favorite quarantine snack is apparently eating an entire pan of brownies in one sitting, because I've done that at least twice, I think. Had to kind of put a hold on the baking for a while because of that. And the thing that I've learned about myself from being in quarantine is that I really like working in an office. I always assumed I would like working from home more, but it turns out I don't. I miss my office. I miss my office equipment. I miss the people. I miss everything about my office right now.
Love it. Yeah, I feel you there. It's been a jarring change for many of us. Well, awesome. Well, thank you all for introducing yourself. We're here to talk about the theme of purpose, and purpose can be such a broad, sweeping conversation. And really, when we started thinking about this theme locally, it was spurred out of this idea of what do you do when things don't go as planned, which in a lot of ways, I think we could all agree that this season hasn't looked like what we anticipated it to look like. And even in the initial conversations that we just had in introductions, everyone agreed, hey, we're all trying to learn something from it. So I want to start by asking a general question about purpose. When you were invited to participate in this conversation around purpose, what sparked for each of you? What was the catalyst to going, oh, that is something I'd love to share some thoughts on? Maybe we don't know. I don't want to call anyone out to start first, but who wants to respond with what really purpose meant to them when they were invited to participate in this conversation?
I'm happy to start. So for me, it was really twofold. There are kind of two purposeful lenses I was looking through. One was the purpose of my work. So I work for the San Diego Tourism Authority. And of course, for a lot of you listening and watching, you're probably thinking, what am I even doing for work at the moment when there's no tourists coming? But it really helps to drive home the fact that the work that we do at the Tourism Authority is so purposeful and is so meaningful to San Diego in terms of what it contributes to the economy, from a tax revenue standpoint, and that's something that's so desperately needed right now that we don't have. And then also the visibility that we give to a lot of small businesses, restaurants, it really helps to kind of solidify in a moment when we're not able to do that kind of promotion, how vital that promotion is and how purposeful it is. And then, on a personal level, I think a moment like this has really helped bring clarity to everything that I do. I think what we're all struggling with right now is motivating ourselves in this environment and having the thing that motivates me is that purpose. If I know that the work that I'm getting up to do every day has an effect, then that really that's where the motivation comes from.
That's great.
Yeah, I think Nate, I think one of the things for me was that, we were talking about this earlier, this idea that, man, so many things have changed in the last 60 days, right? Like just the way we work, how we work, the things that we do. I mean, our companies, the employees, so many things have changed. And I think that your purpose is something that can actually make its way through any crisis. And I think more importantly, it should be something that makes it through, because it will often be the thing that not only keeps you focused on what it is that you're trying to accomplish and supposed to accomplish, but it also oftentimes will be the only thing that gives you the strength to persevere through it. I mean, for us at Moniker, our purpose is people. It always has been. It's been people inside the walls of the company and people outside the walls. And inside the walls, it's taking care of those that were part of our team and trying to find a way to allow them to come back on the other side of this. And for those outside the walls of our company, it's our community, and it's creating the spaces that we've created for them for years up to this point still matter and still value, and there will be value for them on the other side. And so I think that purpose that we have that drives us in these, in what we create, is the one thing that we can hold on to, and we can adapt and yet still keep it.
Well said.
If I may piggyback off what Ryan said, I think times like this, and I think we all have these in our lifetime, times like this can galvanize your purpose and, you know, really double down on it. But I think it's also times like this that cause people to reflect, may go deeper into what their purpose really means. Like, I thought my purpose was this, but now that I'm going through this, I realize it's really this. So it may cause a refocusing of your purpose, or a better understanding of your purpose, or maybe even a new understanding of your purpose. So in some ways, I hate to be that guy, but in some ways it's kind of a gift. And I think every time we have anything that challenges us in our lifetime, it can be uncomfortable and, dare I say, sometimes painful. But when we come out the other side, we're always a better person for it. And I guess one of the things that I always find interesting are the things that I fear, or the things that I do, or the things that I think are impossible. They seem impossible, and then you get on the other side of it, and you kind of look back and you go, why did I think that was impossible, or why was I afraid of that? And I think this time is giving us that opportunity to explore our purpose and to test our purpose, and, you know, rediscover, you know, who we are.
Yeah, I want to jump into, because the hopefulness of that message, I think, is, you know, we should all take that in. And I think, you know, what Ryan is pointing out, that purpose isn't habit. You know, purpose isn't habit. You know, we choose how we act and where we work. For me, with the invitation of this panel, I thought about the purpose larger of the arts, you know, and what the arts and creativity, you know, means to our community. And there's been this word essential that we keep talking about and defining things as being, you know, essential or not. And I mean, of course, the arts are essential, right? Our museum has been shuttered for the true quarantine, for the 4
Amen,
years.
sister. Amen on the art.
You know, we aren't essential by that one definition, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think we all feel now more than ever the need to connect through something greater than just a role, you know, a job, but the way we come together. And for a museum, I mean, I have the luxury of toggling between artists, working with artists, with creators, and with the artwork, the thing that's been made, you know, and both are expressions of our humanity, and both help us understand our world differently than we can just on our own. And I think people are hungry to get back to museums. I am. I mean, I may be comfortable working from home, but I want to have that encounter with the artwork. So at any rate, Nate, when you said, you know, purpose, I thought, purpose, okay, well, that's like the mission of our museums, you know, of museums in general, to connect people to their humanity through the visual arts. And at the museum, we're trying to find ways to pivot, as we're all pivoting, right? To continue to connect.
I love that.
I love everything that Catherine said, because I come from like nonprofit arts background myself. And so with art, you know, I feel like film is really important now more than ever. And to piggyback off of what she said about the mission too, is Pacific Arts Movement mission is to build a more compassionate society through showcasing a wide variety of perspectives through film. And so thinking about my purpose practically in my job, and also what really like motivates me in my personal life, is trying to, I guess, give a voice to folks that are often underrepresented. And during this time when there is a lot of increased discrimination and negativity, like, how do we transform that into something positive? And how do we adapt to the current situation when movie theaters are closed,
Right.
when film festivals are not happening around the world, and how important those things are to building community, by sharing how creative it can be too.
I love that. Yeah, I think what I love about this panel and I love about this initial discussion that we've had is that there's this unique tension between vocation and what we have as purpose as it relates to what we do vocationally, and then there's and it's connected, it's correlated, and then there's this like this personal purpose, and we're all driven by the things that we desire innately in our hearts to serve or to participate in. So I love that that's connected and that they can both be connected without it exclusively being one or the other. I have a really practical question for everybody, which is if you're anything like me, there's been a lot of, in this season, there's been a lot of fear. There's been a lot of uncertainty kind of breeds the like anxiety, if you will, of like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And I would love to hear from our panel, just practically, how have you navigated the tension of like your own individual anxiety or fear of like whether that's failure or just the uncertainty of it all with this idea of purpose? How have you stayed true to purpose or stayed true to what you just mentioned is kind of what's driving you in this season, while also wrestling with the balance of like, we're all human. So this hasn't been like, let's not pretend this is all, this has only been positive for all of us. It's kind of been shitty for a lot of us at the same time. So talk to me a little bit about the tension there. And yeah, honest as you can be. How have you navigated that?
I mean, I'll try to take that on in some way. I'm a Libra, so I think this helps, right? Because I can do both sides of things, and I feel like there's so much that's unknown, and it seems like we have to embrace that ambiguity. We have to acknowledge that's out there, and that can be overwhelming. So I think the practical thing that I tried to do, and I think we're trying to do at the museum, is to kind of come back to the moment and take it moment by moment. You know what I mean? Have a plan A, B, and C, and take it, literally, I guess one step at a time. Which I guess just means that you have to remain nimble, right? Because you have to be able to adjust to as the ambiguity becomes, as clarity happens, So I think it's something about acknowledging that you can't know it all. Try to get a handle on it, but then just let yourself work in one moment at a time.
I think one, it's really embracing and like embracing the reality that the fear is there. Not pretending that it doesn't exist. Like, there's been some really dark moments, I feel like, for me in the last 6 weeks of just so many unknowns, right? As humans, unknown is like our biggest really fear and can just debilitate us as people. I think in my world, for me, my faith is a huge part of my story. And I feel like I just believe that if there's something I'm called to do, there's gonna be a path somewhere in this for me to navigate. And doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It hasn't been, we turned 10 this week as a company, and really interesting to, make it a decade and find ourselves in this spot. But we've been through a lot, and I think that has allowed us to be prepared for what it is that we're facing ahead of us. So I think that's a huge piece on the personal side. And then the other piece would just be my team, to be honest. Like, I trust my team. Like, we have a phenomenal group of people that every one of them has been willing to do whatever it is that they need to do to help us see our way through. And I just can't even say how much it comforts and really empowers me to continue to move forward, knowing that there's a group of people behind me that is willing to be on the other side. And really, there's going to be it is not going to look the way it did before this. It's kind of like taking a Lego set and blowing it up and the pieces are everywhere, but the pieces are still there. And you can begin to rebuild some of what you knew and some of what you think would be better, and I think it's a matter of who's sitting there on the other side. So a lot of times when I'm in that place of just, that fear and that darkness, it's more of like, okay, I have what I need. There's a way forward, and there's people with me, and we can make this happen.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in there because I feel like it's the same, from a professional level. Unfortunately, at the Tourism Authority, a lot of our staff has been furloughed, but the team that is active right now, we've been. I feel like there's so much strength there, and everyone is supporting each other so much and coming together and taking on things that we didn't think we knew how to do. And so having a strong team, whether that's your coworkers or your family or your friends, whatever your team looks like for you, I think that's really important. And then on a personal level, I mean, I'm going to share, like, I've really struggled to stay positive, and especially in the very beginning. I think around, somewhere around the end of week 2, I posted on my Instagram, like, hey, I'm really scared, and all I'm seeing around me is people with their, like, fun sourdough starters, and they're, look at all the cool stuff I'm doing in quarantine. And I have to confess, I'm really scared, and I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know how to feel better. And I had so many people reply to me, both publicly and privately, saying, I'm really glad you said that because I'm feeling the same way. So I think, like, no matter how you're feeling, other people are feeling it too, and there is some comfort in knowing that.
Awesome. Any other thoughts from the panel?
I think Sean's on mute.
I am. So now that we're all getting real here, being someone who's both the head of a small company, it'll be 5 years for us, and also, the head of a small family, part of that role of leader is, not to show your fear or not to express your fear and to try to keep it calm down. Sure as heck doesn't mean I don't have the fear, because I do. And a shout out, I guess, to my wife of 30 some years, because she's that one person that I can, we can have our conversation. We can't let the kids see the conversation. I say kids, they're in their 20s, but they can't know, what we're thinking. Well, some of the folks on this call work with me. So as the leader of my company, I also have to keep a positive face. But I do think it's important to be real, and I do think it's important to be genuine, and I do think it's important to acknowledge that we have fear. But the one thing I remind myself is that if you start analyzing your fear and start breaking it down, you can usually find the root cause to it. And like anything else, the opposite of fear is love. And to find that other place that you need to go to, so you can better understand that fear and where it's coming from, and how to deal with it. And I am an optimist, and I'm an idealist, and this too shall pass. There will be a new normal. And I think right now we need to focus on, what's that new normal going to be like, and start moving towards it. So there you go. Getting way realer than I thought.
Well said.
I think with the fear thing too is, for me, I'm at the beginning stages of my career, and learning to navigate working from home has been tough. Candace said that she missed her office, and I miss my office so much too, and my coworkers especially. So learning to communicate with these folks through Slack and Zoom meetings, and I know a lot of you folks probably are feeling that Zoom fatigue too, where it's like 5 meetings a day. But I'm trying to be forgiving with myself, because I know there's a lot of push on social media of, like, be productive, like, I think about creating a routine every day where I'm like, I'm going to work out and drink a green smoothie, and I'm going to work for like 5 hours to take a break and all of this stuff. And I think forgiveness has been one of the things that's helped me stay true to my purpose, so that I know it's a long game and not to burn myself out right away, because I have a long career ahead of me, and I want to keep going and keep doing the best I can for my team.
I love it. That was so well said. And the forgiveness piece, and just giving yourself grace in a season where it's like you're trying to, like, will yourself into doing everything at the same time is very difficult. So I commend you for realizing the tension of, like, I can't do everything. I also can't feel bad that I can't do everything. I know I've experienced that, having a 14-month at home. I can't work nearly as much as I normally do. So totally relate to that. I want to ask a question. We're going to do one more question from me, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. But I want to ask a question quickly about purpose in the community. So how can our creative community show up purposefully? And really when I say purposefully, I mean like in a way that shows determination and resolve as we navigate what Sean said, which is like this will change. Like this is inevitably going to change how we do business, what it looks like, all of those things. How can we as a creative community show up purposefully as things begin to come online in the next couple months?
I think one thing, and just kind of inspired by the last few conversations we just had, but just one at first being just upfront, open and honest and vulnerable with each other in the community. I think, gosh, there's been so much that I've garnered from my closest friends or others that are entrepreneurs where it's like just knowing that you're in it together, right?
Yeah.
Like just knowing that you are everyone is afraid and no one knows what's going to happen. And all these things first off is kind of like, okay, like we're in this together, and then being able to move forward that reality that we're connected in that way, that it is a community and that we are here to support each other, to believe in each other, to help pick up those pieces with each other on the other side of this. You know, I think San Diego specifically, I feel like has more of a fledgling creative community that's been really becoming something over the last 5 years. And before that, I always said that San Diego's a lot like a blank canvas, just waiting for someone to put a pen and paper or a paintbrush to it. And I think to a degree, we're given a new canvas on the other side of this, and we get to go and just define what our community looks like. It would be really awesome to see it be one that is about how we help lift each other up out of this in new and innovative ways.
Yeah, I'd love to tag on to that with the idea of being there to share each other's work. I think the shift, that will come out of this is the idea of moving away from the idea of seeing, other artists, other businesses as competition, and seeing them as peers and as a community that we need to support and lift each other up. As something that in my work with the Tourism Authority over the last decade, I talked a lot about the growth of the craft beer scene, especially in its early days. People would ask me, San Diego's craft beer scene was taking off well before everybody else's, and people would ask me why. What is it about San Diego? And I said it was really the feeling of camaraderie that existed between all these people who were starting their own breweries and lending each other ingredients. And if someone left, for example, Stone Brewing to start their own brewery, they were supported. So I think taking again away the idea that we're competing with each other, and instead that we are it's a rising tide lifts all boats. So as one succeeds, if we share that story, if we're sharing each other's stories, then we're really all going to succeed.
Yeah, I think that's great. In terms of what is the new normal and what it's going to be and what we should think about, a big part of my world is innovation, which means I'm a geek and I read lots of reports from McKinsey and MIT Sloan and HBR, Harvard Business Review. And I encourage people to read those because they're very optimistic about what the new normal is going to be. One of the things I'm seeing that is going to definitely take place is the office place is going to change quite a bit. They're going to think more about, let's say, airflow, for example. I think we're going to see more, business spaces become, public spaces in general, become more environmentally friendly. They're going to be healthier. There's going to be more fresh air. They're going to think more about, the space, how we use that space. So I think it's going to be a great future for folks who are, in and around environmental. I think environmental biology and environmental design is to become, really important in the all. And I think art is too. I think we're going to see a blossom of art around innovation and in new spaces. So those are some of the trends that I'm in for the new normal. I'd love to hear what other trends other folks are hearing or seeing.
I
love
think
it.
like the trends thing too is I'm on like a bunch of film festival forums and groups on Facebook, and everyone's trying to figure out ways to build that communal experience virtually, which is something that me and my team have been brainstorming and coming up with creative ways to create experiences like this right now too, where we're able to like talk and share our ideas with each other. And so it's really interesting to see the rise of like watch parties happen where you get to watch films with your friends, even though they live in another city or somewhere else, or even down the street now, you know? So I love that, you know, even though this is a challenging time, it's kind of forcing us in the creative field to be creative and
Yeah.
think of innovative ways to continue our missions and continue the things that we do regularly, but in a totally different perspective. So that's really exciting to me, you know, is to look forward into, you know, whatever after this looks like. I feel like folks are going to want to come together more and experience those community-driven events like going to the museums or watching movies together. You know, even if you're sitting in a dark theater alone, it's like you're with a bunch of people, and it's totally different than watching Netflix on your couch by yourself, you know? So I really like the challenge that we've had to deal with in terms of like the work with the film festival.
I love it. Well said too. I think all of these responses have been really, I think I love that we're still weighing it with like, how do we allow creativity and optimism to really drive a lot of what we see moving forward, while simultaneously knowing that we need to know and we need to be intentional about learning in a season where there's still a lot of fluidity to what the new future will look like. But someone said in the chat, like, how do we make digital experiences more human? And I agree. I think that's happening. So I want to make sure we have at least a couple questions from the audience, especially since we're running up against that 10 a.m. marker. So what I'm going to do is, if you have a question, I'm going to randomly select a few people in our participants panel if you want to raise your hand and ask a question, I will pick you. We'll unmute you so you can ask your question, and then we'll let the panel respond to your question. I'm hoping we can squeeze two questions in. We may not be able to try to hit that 10 a.m. marker, but we're going to try. So without further ado, if someone has a question, go ahead and raise your hand, and we will go ahead and we'll pick you. Let's see here. We've got a couple hands raised. We've got Maria. Maria, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you and let you answer. There you go. Unmuted. Oh, wait, she was unmuted. Oh, there she is, unmuted. Maria, can you hear us?
Now, yes, sorry. So I am wondering, because there's such financial uncertainty too coming out of this. For example, my husband has pretty much lost his work, and he was our primary breadwinner. How can the panel speak to the idea of the necessity of having to work in an area? You know, you were talking about the tension between vocation and personal, and I think it's really prevalent right now. That's something that's really coming up because of the financial necessity. So can you speak to how to bring purpose into that arena where there's that tension?
I'd love to answer that because I was actually thinking about this. You know, for my husband has also lost his job as a result of the current situation. And so, and I have a lot of friends who are unemployed right now, and talking about, you know, having to take on some temporary work that they ordinarily wouldn't have considered doing. You know, it's outside their field, it's outside what they want to do as a career. And as we're talking about purpose, I think, you know, everyone needs to give themselves the space to say, right now, my purpose is putting food on the table for my family. Like, if that's what you need, then don't be ashamed of that, and don't feel like, you know, you're betraying who you are, or you're betraying, you know, the greater purpose that you felt you had. It's okay to give yourself that space of like, I need to step out what I would ordinarily consider to be, my mission or my comfort zone, because my mission right now is taking care of my family financially.
Yeah, I think the modified purpose, or not necessarily modified purpose, but modified like actions based off your purpose, right? So going back to that, like take care of your family. Like for us, from a business standpoint, we kept our coffee shop open as to go, but we also added groceries as like a way to like serve our community on a much smaller scale, and be able to have a easy place that they can pick up fresh produce and stuff. And it's like, okay, so our purpose is still people. It's still trying to serve our community. And in that too, we actually saved a handful of jobs because we've furloughed about 40 something staff. And so the purpose is pared down, and it can't be as big, but it's still, for us, is still that people focus. Like, how can we use what we have left, the time or the resources that are available to us, to still serve our community or serve our team? And so I think as an individual level, it's that same mentality. It's like, okay, my pool of resources have dwindled, but it still doesn't change my desire, my purpose to serve my family. And so what do I need to do in order to do that? It doesn't mean that that's my permanent trajectory. It just means that that's my response to this moment that allows us to be able to, make it through to what's next. We're not going to be a grocery store forever at Moniker General, but for this season we will be. And I think it's just, you can stay true to what your purpose is, but change the way you express it, depending on what the season you're in.
Any other thoughts from the panel?
I mean, just to go back, Nate, to what you were saying about, and I'm not remembering exactly your words, but vocation and personal. I think we're all feeling that, like economically as well, right? Like you can have, we've all redrawn, the way we're living within our own households and what our priorities are, and then, which is pressure. And then we're doing the same thing at work, if we're fortunate to remain employed, or if we're in the challenging position of having to furlough people. You know what I mean? We're all, it's right. Like our family planning is happening and readjusting, and our business planning is happening and readjusting. And I don't know what the point is there, except that it's like, there's no break. You know what I mean? You think, right. I could just go deal with my work problem. It's like, but it looks suspiciously like my problem at home, so I don't know, but I think something in this is, we do see the structure of the way things work, the way we make our life at home work, the way we make our business work. And we come back to, I think, the role of humanity in all of this, like the people, the human resources, our role, I mean, in our little coffee line group, we were talking about getting takeout and wanting to be equitable, to think like, oh, this, I want to give to this business, I want to give to that business. And right. That you think about who's cooking, and who's taking your money, and who's delivered the produce, like I think we're more aware of the individuals, even as there's this tendency to look at, and a necessity to look at the financial business model. And so, I mean, hopefully we'll keep it in the right balance, right? And not lose sight of all the real human lives that are impacted.
Well, absolutely well said. I think, man, this has been such a privilege to get to participate in this conversation, because I think so much of this, I don't know about everybody that's on, but I have felt so much joy knowing that we're all in this together. And then there's just this amazing thing that all of our panelists, but also just this community, is all approaching this with as much humility as we possibly can, knowing that we're all learning. I know last month I said that creativity plus love plus generosity is the way we're going to navigate this season. And I fundamentally believe that that's absolutely true. And much of our conversation around purpose really came back to that idea of being really the core of how we can navigate this. We are at 9:59, and unfortunately, we're not going to be able to answer any more questions on the call today. However, what we're going to do instead is, if you have follow-up questions, we want you to send those to us via Instagram, or connect with us on Instagram. And what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to our panelists with follow-up questions that people have, and have them record quick iPhone responses to some of those questions, and we'll share those with our community as content over the next week or so that way we have an opportunity to keep this conversation going around purpose. I want to say thank you to all of our panelists for your time, for your vulnerability, for sharing your hearts with us this morning. Thank you to the community for showing up for another virtual event. I hope it was inspiring and encouraging and a great way to start your Friday morning. So with that, we're going to sign off from Creative Mornings here this morning. If you are in gallery view, I encourage you to give a hearty wave to everybody as we sign off. But thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.